What's up, everybody? The UFC made a gigantic mistake by having Tom Aspinall and Sergei Pavlovich step in on short notice and fight for the UFC interim heavyweight belt. And in this video, I'm going to highlight the reasons that this was a mistake, what the UFC can do to correct it, and what I think that they're going to do ultimately in the end. But let's hop right into this thing, guys. I mean, basically, so if you don't know what's going on here, it was supposed to be Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic back in November, headlining MSG. It was supposed to be this big fight between two of the biggest names in the sport. Stipe Miocic as the GOAT heavyweight, and then Jon Jones as the GOAT of the sport. It was supposed to be this giant clash as Stipe Miocic has been out for a couple years now, a couple years after getting knocked out by Francis Ngannou. He takes some time on the sidelines, and then he's coming back into a title shot against Johnny Bones Jones, who went in there, dominated Shogun. We were all impressed and blown away by that. I get it. It's a legendary fight. The problem with this now is Stipe's been out for so long. How many people are actually excited to see Stipe Miocic fight again? Feel free to comment below if you are. Right? It's not to be negative. I'm just pointing it out. I don't think people are as excited as they once were for this matchup, because now the UFC created an issue, which is the fact that Tom Aspinall, who's the big budding star behind Jon Jones in the UFC, is now the interim heavyweight champion, goes out there, impressively knocks out Sergei Pavlovich, and now you have a guy who's a big star now in the UK and over here in the US now, in Tom Aspinall, who people want to see fight, who is now in a very interesting position, to say the least. The reason Tom Aspinall's in an interesting situation, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, is he has the interim belt, but what have we seen in the past is whenever you win the interim belt, that's you punching your ticket. You're guaranteeing that title shot for yourself. Usually we have an interim belt on the line because someone is injured, which Jon Jones is injured. He's out for an extended period of time, which is the concern. And Dana has been very adamant that fight is happening next. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. And guys, looking at the landscape here, that fight, I think we're lucky if that fight happens, anytime before the end of 2024. I mean, it's going to be a while before this matchup, because the last I heard, Jon Jones is out for several months, and everyone thinks, oh, great, so once that, 8 months or whatever is up, then he'll just fight, right? No, he's got to get back to who he was. He's got to start training again. He's got to get back in that condition that he once was in prior to the injury, because when you have that injury, you're rehabbing, right? You're worrying about the injury. Yes, you're working on some things that you're able to do while still compromised by the injury, but you have to get back up to full speed. And now we have a problem, because Tom Aspinall is the interim heavyweight champion, and Tom Aspinall is not going to want to wait and sit on the sidelines all of 2024. So what does the UFC do? Can you defend the interim heavyweight belt? No, that doesn't even make any sense to do that. He went out there. We fought for the interim belt against Sergei Pavlovich, comes off with an impressive knockout, and now he wins the interim belt, and it's like, well, he's punched his ticket to fight, for the heavyweight strap, and now he has to wait in line behind a Stipe Miocic who hasn't fought in a few years. I get that Stipe is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. He's one of the biggest names at heavyweight. He's been out for a while. Granted, he lost to Ngannou, but he did beat Ngannou the first time. I get it all. It's just incredibly unfair to Tom Aspinall. I know life's not fair. Things work out the way they do. I got it. The UFC is going to do whatever the hell they want to do at the end of the day. I'm just recognizing that I don't like the landscape of the UFC's heavyweight division right now. I think Tom Aspinall's a budding superstar. I believe that he is, outside of Jon Jones, the biggest name in the heavyweight division. That is really the fight to make it heavyweight, is Johnny Bones Jones versus Tom Aspinall. But guys, I have this theory. I've stated in some of my other videos. I really do believe that this heavyweight showdown between Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic will be the last time both of these guys compete, win or lose. I don't know that we see Jon Jones fight after he fights Stipe Miocic, considering he is a bit older now. He was very inactive for a while. He's coming off a big injury here. Stipe Miocic has been away for a long time. He's up there in age. What reason do these guys really have to come back? And I know people are going to throw out legacy and wanting to take out the young, hungry lion. I know these guys are competitors, but there's no way they're looking at Tom Aspinall being like, this is a great matchup, right? I mean, Tom Aspinall's young. The guy's hungry. I'm not saying that they can't get it done again. I give Jon Jones still a very good shot at beating Tom Aspinall. I don't give Stipe a very good shot at beating Tom Aspinall, because that's just how styles make fights. But at the end of the day, The UFC has created a problem here because now you can't really have someone defend the UFC interim belt. You know, what would make sense to me is having Jon Jones vacate the heavyweight belt. You have Tom Aspinall. I mean, I don't even know what you do. They've created such a debacle, and I really believe that they messed up by putting the interim belt on the line, knowing that Jon was going to be sidelined for so long, knowing damn well that they were going to rebook Jones versus Miocic, because now you just have this like weird, awkward situation where it's like, yeah, Aspinall's the interim belt, but who does he fight? Who does he fight? I mean, he could go out there. We can match him up with Shogun. We can match him up with somebody else. But at the end of the day, like, what does that mean other than Aspinall staying active? And I do think Aspinall beats anybody else. I think Aspinall gets through Shogun, but it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. And then now you're just sitting on the sidelines waiting for Jon Jones and Stipe to duke it out in this giant heavyweight clash that I don't think many people are excited for. If it happened back in November, great, fantastic. Aspinall would have been next in line, but now he wins the interim belt, and it's like he's just going to get shelved, in my opinion, for 2024 unless they pointlessly put up the UFC heavyweight strap, because at that point, now we're just kind of taking away the importance of a UFC interim belt, right? I mean, that, in my opinion, was always the understanding of a UFC interim belt, was the champion's out. He can't defend his title right now. He's still a guy that he's going to be back soon. But it's one of those things where we want to put a belt on the line and have that next guy in line where whoever wins, you have punched your ticket. Congratulations. You are fighting the champ now to have your shot at winning the actual belt for the division. And I just believe, guys, that this is just a fumble by the UFC. I mean, they're the UFC. They're the best at what they do. But I think that they're looking back on this saying, man, we could have just booked Aspinall versus Pavlovich as just a number one contender fight. And then they could have somehow shape-shifted this at the end, being like, well, wait a minute, you know, we're going to have Jon Jones fight Miocic. Maybe we give Aspinall one more fight so he can stay active in 2024, considering that I think Jon Jones and Stipe are only fighting one time in 2024. I don't believe we'll see Aspinall get a shot at the title until 2025, guys. I mean, like, that is crazy. This is a fumbled situation by the UFC, in my opinion. I'd be curious to know what you all think. Am I overreacting? Am I being unrealistic here? Am I off? Feel free to comment below, like, subscribe, help your boy out. But guys, we all love watching Tom Aspinall. If you're a fan of mixed martial arts, what we recognize in Tom Aspinall in the UFC heavyweight division is some guy that is just a specimen in terms of the way that he fights. A guy that moves like a middleweight out there. You know, his boxing is incredible. He's got powerful kicks. He's got great movement. He's very well-rounded. He has a good ground game. And it's like, this guy has all the makings of being the champion. And it's like, I feel like we're almost like looking at Tom Aspinall as the champ. But we got these two OGs where it's like respect to Jon Jones, man. Going out there and doing what he did to Shogun. But sitting on the sideline all this time, if this was a lot of other guys, man, they would be stripping the champion or making them vacate the belt and then have, you know, the title fight on the line, guaranteeing, Jon, listen, when you come back and you're ready, you're walking into a title shot. I feel like that's kind of how they should handle the situation. But again, I get it. It's Jon Bones Jones. Jon has beaten everybody. He arguably is the GOAT of all time. So I get it. I'm just saying, the UFC putting that interim belt on the line back in November, I think was a gigantic mistake. I think that matchup sold itself and they didn't need to put an interim label on it, knowing damn well that they were just going to rebook Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. But what do you all think? Like, subscribe, help your boy out. I appreciate you all. See you in the next one.